Okay, good morning, students. So, in the last session of life processes, we have discussed about the different types of life processes in briefly. So, now I will discuss about the first type of life processes which we are going to study in detail in this lesson. So, we are going to discuss about nutrition. Here, I will discuss about food. How does a living organism gets its food, and how does it takes the food inside, and what happens to the food that is taken inside the body of living organism. So in nutrition, already I have discussed that every living organisms need energy, right? So to do any kind of work, the energy is necessary, that is important. So the energy comes from the food, right? I mean the nutrients present in the food. Food in the sense the nutrients, right? The nutrients present in the food gives energy for the organisms to perform the various kinds of activities. So work means all the types of work. You can take an example. Even thinking is also a type of work. Sleeping is also a type of work. Running, doing exercises. To perform all these activities, we need work. For example, if you do not have energy in your body, if your cells are not producing energy in your body, what happens? You are not able to think properly. If you are having insufficient food to your stomach, you will be lacking in something. Even you cannot sleep calmly, right? So if all these activities has to be performed in appropriate way, then the nutrition is required. I mean the food is important to our body. Okay, so in nutrition we discuss about how each organism obtain its food. We will discuss how the complex food becomes simpler ones which can be absorbed by cells, because all cells need energy. To produce energy in our body and to perform the various metabolic activities, the cells cannot digest the complex food. Means if the food is very large, if the food is not in a simpler form, then the cells of our body cannot digest. Means they cannot take the complex food to produce the energy. Then how this complex food becomes simpler for the cells? So we are going to discuss all these things under nutrition. So now think about the plants. Plants also need energy or else it may die, right? I have discussed earlier in my slide. It gives us food by absorbing the water, sunlight, and some nutrients, right? And these nutrients are also essential for the plants, because now each and every life forms need energy, and this energy directly comes from the food with the intake of food, right? So now with all this introduction, now let me explain what is nutrition in detail. Okay, so what is nutrition? Nutrition is the process of obtaining the food and changing it into simple absorbable form. Okay, it is a process of obtaining, means getting the food, and once the food it is been received by an organism, it has to change that food into simple absorbable form. Means the food has to be absorbed in a very simple form so that all the cells receives that simple absorbed food to produce energy. Okay, so why do organisms need food? Because the food contain nutrients. food provides energy, and by taking food, the food helps the cells to get repaired, and it also helps the growth in cells. That is, the cells starts growing. The food helps in growth of cell. Okay, the food also increases the resistance against the diseases. Means if your immune system has to become stronger, which which has to fight against the diseases, then what happen? You have to take the healthy nutrient food. Okay, what is meant by immune system? It is a system which is going to fight against the diseases, or when we are having some problems in our body. So that system has to be very healthier, right? So to keep healthier, we have to take the food. Okay, so I hope you understood why do all we need food, right? So there are so many things which I have told you now, that these are the reasons that why do we need food. Fine. So now let us understand the modes of nutrition. So based on the modes of the organisms, the organisms are classified as two types. I will tell you that. So before that, let me explain you the modes of nutrition. So the two modes of nutrition. Before that, I'll tell you what is mode. Mode is the way by which organisms get food. Mode is, it is a path, it is a way. Okay, it is a way by which an organism get its food. So there are two modes of nutrition, that is autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. So what are autotrophs? What are heterotrophs? Let me discuss. So based on these modes of nutrition, the organisms are classified into autotrophs and heterotrophs. Fine. Then what are autotrophs? The autotrophs are the organisms which prepare their own food. Now you already know about autotrophs, and you also have an idea that whom can we consider as an autotrophs? Whom can we consider? All the green plants, right? So all the green plants which prepare their own food, we can consider them as autotrophs, because these green plants, they do not depend on any others for their food. The production of their food will be done by themselves. Okay, hence they are considered to be autotrophs. Okay, so what are heterotrophs? Heterotrophs are the organisms which depends on the others for their food. Means they cannot prepare their own food, hence they are depending on some other organisms for their food. Fine. So there are two modes of nutrition. One is autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition, and based on these, the organisms are classified into autotrophs and heterotrophs. What are autotrophs? Autotrophs are the organisms which prepare their own food. Then heterotrophs are the organisms which depend on others for their food. So now let us understand in detail what is autotrophic nutrition. Okay, so when I talk about autotrophs, I already told you they are green plants, right? So under autotrophic nutrition, we are going to again classify this autotrophic nutrition into two types. That is, first one is photosynthetic and the second one is chemosynthetic. The autotrophic nutrition is classified into two, that is photosynthetic and chemosynthetic. Then what is meant by photosynthetic? We know that all the green plants prepare their own food. Then how does green plants prepare their own food? So they prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis. You all are aware about this word called photosynthesis. Hence, they are called photosynthetic, because All the green plants prepare their own food in the presence of sunlight, carbon dioxide, minerals, chlorophyll, which are present in the surrounding. Okay, they're not depending on others. What is present in the atmosphere? So, with the help of those materials only, they are going to prepare their own food. And these organisms means these autotrophic modes of nutrition, those who are using this autotrophic modes of nutrition, so those organisms are called as autotrophs. And these autotrophs means the green plants produce large, so these green plants produce large amount of carbohydrates, proteins and lipids, etc. So there are so many things which are being produced inside the plants. It may be a carbohydrates, proteins, minerals, fats, lipids. So there are a lot of things which are being produced. Okay. So one thing please remember children, if in the plants the excess of food is stored, means it is in the form of starch. I'll tell you, if in the plants the excess of food is stored, then it is stored in the form of starch. Do remember, you will be asked in examinations. So these carbohydrates which are being produced by the autotrophs are used to provide, means it has been, we get these carbohydrates, proteins, lipids from the plants and it is being used to provide, means to give the energy in many living organisms including we, means the humans and also the animals. So we get energy, right? We get energy from the plants. How do we get energy from the plants? Because the plants, they produce carbohydrates, proteins as well as lipids. So everything we get from the plants either directly or indirectly. So for example, if you may think that I am a non-vegetarian, so I'm not going to eat any kind of plants. Suppose if you're eating, for example, if you're eating the meat, okay, if you're eating the goat meat for example, how do the goat get the food for its survival? It is depending on the plants, right? Then the plants are being consumed by that goat, which is being consumed by you, means we the human beings, means we are directly or indirectly depending on the plants. Okay, hope you understood, right? So next thing is, which we are going to discuss under autotrophic nutrition, the second thing is chemosynthetic. When I talk about chemosynthetic, I can take an example of bacteria. So what are chemosynthetic? So these are the organisms which use chemical energy. Chemo means chemical. Okay, so these are the organisms which use chemical energy which is released during the oxidation of organic compound to prepare their food. Means these chemosynthetic organisms, they use the food that is being released during the oxidation of organic compounds. Then what are these organic compounds? So the organic compounds are the compounds of carbon, that is oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, means they're like carbohydrates, lipids, fats and etc. So these are being received by the bacteria for their survival. Okay, now let us move towards the next type of nutrition, that is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So when I talk about heterotrophic mode of nutrition, I already told you that. So these are the organisms which depends on others for their food. Okay, for example, here the lion is depending on a zebra or the zebra is depending on a plant. So here it's a food chain, right? They are interrelated to each other. Anyhow, they are not going to prepare their own food. In spite, they are going to depend on one another. So, under heterotrophic mode of nutrition, they are the organisms which depends on others for their food. For example, animals, humans, fungi. So, these heterotrophic mode of nutrition are broadly classified into three major types. First is saprophytic, parasitic, holozoic. So you're often aware about these words. I mean, you know already, you have familiar with these words, right? So let me tell you once again what are saprophytes, or what is saprophytic mode of nutrition. So saprophytic. So here sappho means dead. Saffron means dead. So it is the mode of nutrition where an organism feeds on dead and decomposed matter. You can see there are so many examples which is given here. So all these organisms, like all these fungi or saprophytic organisms, they depend on dead and decomposed matter for their development. Okay, so next let us understand about what is parasitic. So here under parasitic, they are the organisms which live inside the body of an organism and obtain the food from them. Here for example, we can consider the organism as the host. I hope I have told you in earlier years when I was taking the class for you. The host means, for example, if an organism is living inside our body, if for example if the worms are living inside our body, then we are the host for those worms, right? So parasitic organisms are the organisms which live inside the body of others to obtain the food from them. Taken examples, the worms which are present inside our body or intestine, they get the food which we eat. For example, for example, we take the food, right? We take the complex food to our body. The complex food is digested into simpler forms through various process. It has been simplified. So now the simpler food means the food which is being simplified enters to the small intestine. And if suppose the worms are present over there, and what happens, those worms get the food, simplified food for their development. Means they're taking the food by depending on us, like now we are the host for them, so they're taking the food from the others organism. So I have also given an example as a Plasmodium parasite. Here the Plasmodium parasite is a parasite that can be entered when a insect bite. It's a malarial parasite. When an insect bite, what happens is this parasite enter to our blood and they get food from our blood. And the lice is also which is present in our head, those are also depending on us for their survival. So this is all about the parasitic mode of nutrition or parasites. So next one is holozoic mode of nutrition. So when I talk about holozoic mode of nutrition, here the organisms, they intake the food, means they take in the food. Okay, so organism which intake the complex things as their food, means for example we the human beings, right, we cannot take glucose as a food to our body. In spite, we take complex food to our body, and that complex food is getting simplified, right? So that will later become the glucose or many other byproducts in our body. For example, we eat rice, we eat meat, right? So we may not eat glucose directly as a food, as I discussed, but those simple things, when they combine to form complex food, and when we take those complex things as a food, for example rice, which is a complex thing, as a food, when we intake, what happens is that The rice which enters to our body as a complex things cannot be digested by a cell directly. So that get simplified before reaching the cells. So in under holozoic mode of nutrition, the organisms will take complex things as their food. Both the herbivorous and carnivorous carnivorous can be considered under holozoic mode of nutrition because both will take complex food to their body. Okay, so now we have discussed about both autotrophic mode of nutrition and heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So now let us understand in detail about the process of photosynthesis. So you already have an idea about what is photosynthesis, but in class 10th under photosynthesis topic, the concept which I'm going to explain you right now is very important, and this is been asked many times in examinations. This is been asked many times in examination. So let us start understanding in detail about the process of photosynthesis. So you know that all the green plants perform photosynthesis, right? So during the photosynthesis or at the time of photosynthesis, the green plants prepare their own food. So the green plants prepare their food in leaves. The leaves prepare the food in the green plants. Right? So every green plants contain the pigment called as chlorophyll. You know that chlorophyll is a green color pigment which is present in the leaves of the green plant. So this chlorophyll which develops the complex organic molecule from simple compound in the presence of sunlight. Okay. So then what is photosynthesis? I have discussed. So now let me tell uh, about chlorophyll. So you know that the chlorophyll is the green color pigment which is present in the leaves. So do all the leaves contain chlorophyll, or only do the plants of the green plants, the leaves of green plants contain chlorophyll? You should know about it, right? So it is said that only the green plants, means the leaves of the green plants, contain the chlorophyll, and the leaves of non-green plants do not contain the chlorophyll. Okay. So every green plants contain the chlorophyll and the pigment is called chlorophyll. I have already discussed. And each molecule of carbohydrate formed at the process of photosynthesis, each molecule of carbohydrate formed one molecule of water and one molecule of oxygen. Means when the carbohydrate is formed and each molecule of carbohydrate forms single molecule of water and a single molecule of oxygen. So we can say this in simplified equation form. Please observe this equation. So during the process of photosynthesis, you can observe here the carbon dioxide is involved along with the water in the presence of light energy and chlorophyll. The photosynthesis took place or taking place, and the products obtained are glucose, water and oxygen. So this is a simplified form to show the process of photosynthesis. I will repeat. So if you want to represent the photosynthesis in the equation form, you can write this equation. Carbon dioxide combines with water in the presence of light energy and the chlorophyll pigment. The byproducts obtained are glucose C6H12O6, water and oxygen is formed. So all the green plants are capable of synthesizing the carbohydrates and other compounds like proteins and fats, lipids, many things. You should remember, animal depends on the plants for food because the animals are not capable of synthesizing the carbohydrates by their own. Hence, all the animals depend on the plants for the carbohydrates because animals cannot produce the carbohydrates by its own. When they depend directly or indirectly on plants, they are capable of synthesizing the carbohydrates on their own. Okay, this is all about photosynthesis. Now let us observe what happens in photosynthesis. Very important topic. These points are often asked in your examination. These are the events occur during the photosynthesis under the process of photosynthesis. So what happens under the process, under the events which are taken during the process of photosynthesis? You should understand. So when the photosynthesis is taking place, absorption of light energy takes place by chlorophyll. Means chlorophyll absorbs light energy from sun. I will repeat this point. Absorption of light energy by chlorophyll means here the leaf is receiving the sunlight. So here the chlorophyll present in the leaf, it absorbs the sunlight. Once this sunlight is been absorbed to the leaves, means to the chlorophyll, what is the next steps? What happens in the next event? That is conversion of light energy, means the chlorophyll already absorbs the sunlight in the leaves. So once the light it has been absorbed, this light energy is converted. Conversion of light energy takes place into chemical energy, means light energy is converted into chemical energy. How it has been converted? It has been converted by splitting up of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen ions by light energy. Here, conversion of light energy into chemical energy takes place, and splitting up of water molecules means the formula of water is H2O, right? So, the water contains both hydrogen as well as oxygen. So this water molecule is splitted into hydrogen as well as oxygen ions by the utilization means using of light energy. So this also can be shown with the help of chemical equation which I have written earlier, means which I have been explained you earlier. That is, under the process of photosynthesis, once the light energy is being absorbed to chlorophyll, the carbon dioxide, water, chlorophyll in the presence of light energy during the process of photosynthesis is capable of producing glucose, water and oxygen. So here what happens? The byproduct is released, means the glucose is the product which is released under the process of photosynthesis. Along with the release of glucose, water and oxygen as a byproduct which is released. Oxygen is actually a waste product during the photosynthesis. So because the plants inhale carbon dioxide and they exhale oxygen during the process of photosynthesis, that is in the presence of sunlight. Okay. So the next event which occurred under the photosynthesis is reduction of carbon dioxide by hydrogen to form carbohydrates like glucose. So what happened here? The carbon dioxide is reduced. It has been reduced by hydrogen to form carbohydrates. That is the byproduct which is formed in the product side. It is the glucose which is formed. Okay. So these are all the events which took place under the process of photosynthesis. So these things are very important. Please do remember the events occur during photosynthesis. Now let's observe how each of these things happens in photosynthesis and how the photosynthesis is useful for the reaction, that is useful for photosynthesis reaction. You can observe this picture which is also given in your textbook. This picture is the cross section of leaf which we can see under the microscope. Okay, this picture is the cross section of leaf which we can observe under the microscope. So here we will find some cells as the green dots. Can you see the cells here, right? So inside these cells there are some green dots which are present, and these green dots are the cell organelles and which are often termed as chloroplast. Chloroplast means they are the organelles which contain chlorophyll. Okay, this is the cross section of the leaf. Here the cell organelles contain chloroplast which contain the chlorophyll. These are the chloroplasts. You can see they have marked here. So they contain chlorophyll. Okay. So to know better, let's discuss an activity to check the presence of starch in leaves. So now let me explain an activity to check the presence of starch in the leaves. Okay, so this activity or the picture is the picture which is given in your textbook. Okay, and I have taken two more images which makes or help easier to understand this activity. Okay, so now let us take a small leaf from the plant. Okay, what shall we take? So now let us take a small leaf from the plant and let us boil this leaf in the water. I have taken the leaf. Okay. So let me boil this leaf in the beaker which is containing the water, here or here, anywhere you can observe. So we will boil this leaf until it becomes softer. Okay. So once it becomes softer, I will remove the leaf from the beaker and I will keep this inside the test tube or another beaker which is containing the alcohol. So take an example. There is another beaker. See here, the first beaker. I took leaf and I have boiled, made it soft. I have removed the leaf. Later to the same beaker. Inside the beaker I have kept another beaker which is containing the alcohol, and I have dropped the leaves which I have made soft earlier. Okay. So after placing this beaker inside the water bath, let it live for few minutes or until the alcohol starts boiling. So the beaker containing the water, they gently get heated up, and you also can observe that the leaf which is present inside this alcohol solution loses its color. Means the chlorophyll which is present in the leaf is being removed once it is placed inside the alcohol and get heated up. Okay, so once the color it is been removed from the leaf, let us stop heating and remove the beaker which is containing the alcohol and leaf outside. Okay, so and remove the leaf outside and keep it in the bowl. For example, this picture I can show you, and it will help you to understand the next procedure, that is what actually I am going to tell you. So once the leaf is boiled, after kept in the alcohol, I have removed. So I have removed and washed the leaf and kept it in a bowl or a petri dish. So now what I'm going to do is, so now I'm going to add few drops of iodine. See here, you can see the iodine solution is dropped on the leaf. So what exactly we can observe? The leaf changes its color. After some time or immediately, the leaf changes its color to purple black or bluish black. So this indicates the presence of starch. Okay, now you may have a question in your mind, why only iodine is used to test the presence of starch? Why? Because iodine is added to aqueous solution. For example, this was a solution, right? Aqueous solution of potassium iodide. What happens is it reacts with that particular solution and it produces purple black color. So it is majorly used to test the starch. Now what happens? Our leaf shows some change in the color after the addition of iodine solution. So it indicates the presence of starch. Students, I will perform this activity once again lively in the class. So I have explained this activity to you, just that you have to be aware about there is an activity to perform the starch test. Okay, don't think that I'm not going to do this activity in the class. Definitely I will conduct this activity in the class, so that you will be understanding how to do this activity and how we can conclude that the chlorophyll is being removed from the alcohol solution, and how the starch is being tested by using the iodine solution. All these things we will understand only when we perform this activity. So to this session I'm uh, stopping till here. So next Tuesday I'm coming up with another topic. So till that, please watch both the videos which I have sent to you 2 to 3 times, or as many as times till you understand. Okay, thank you.